The film begins with Steve narrating the story of his life. As a child growing up in the 1980s, he was fascinated by the mysterious mines, though children were strictly forbidden from entering them. As an adult, tired of a meaningless job, Steve finally pursued his dream of exploring the mines. During his journey, he discovered the Orb of Dominance, despite its cube-like shape, and the Earth Crystal. When combined, the two artifacts transported him to the Overworld, a realm where Steve began building a home using materials he gathered, and where he formed a deep bond with a loyal wolf named Dennis. One day, Steve inadvertently ventured into the Nether, a dangerous subrealm of the Overworld ruled by the ruthless piglins. Their leader, Malgosia, a former aspiring performer turned wicked sorceress after her dreams were crushed by her father and the piglins, stole the orb from Steve. Her goal plunged the Overworld into eternal darkness, allowing the light-averse piglins to reign freely. Steve and Dennis managed to retrieve the orb, and in a desperate bid to protect it, Dennis escaped to the real world with both the orb and the Earth Crystal. In the present day, we meet Garrett, the Garbage Man. Garrison, a former video game champion stuck in the past, now running a store filled with nostalgic items. Facing eviction, Garrett attends a storage auction hosted by his friend Daryl, hoping to find an old Atari Cosmos console that could change his fortunes. Instead, he discovers only the orb and the crystal, leading to a public meltdown and frustration. Following the death of their mother, a young woman named Natalie relocates to the small town of Chuglas, Idaho, with her teenage brother Henry. Natalie takes a job managing social media for the local potato chip factory, while Henry begins classes at a new school. On his first day, after a brief meeting with Vice Principal Marlene, Henry attempts to demonstrate a jetpack model he built. However, two bullies sabotage the device, causing it to malfunction and crash into Chuggy, the town's beloved mascot. Panicked, Henry reaches out to Garrett, a nostalgic shop owner he had met earlier that day. Garrett, for $26, agrees to pose as Henry's uncle and takes him back to his store. While there, they stumble upon the orb and Earth Crystal, accompanied by a warning note from Steve, advising against using the orb for selfish gain. Ignoring the warning, Henry inserts the orb into the crystal, which begins pulling both him and Garrett toward the town's mines. Meanwhile, Natalie contacts Dawn, the eccentric real estate agent who sold them their home, and also runs a mobile petting zoo. Together, they track Henry and Garrett to the mines, where they find themselves being watched by Dennis, Steve's loyal wolf. Suddenly, a portal to the Overworld opens, pulling them all inside. The activation of the orb alerts Malgosia and her army of piglins, providing Steve the chance to escape from their grasp and flee the Nether. Inside the Overworld, Natalie, Henry, Garrett, and Dawn marvel at the strange new world before darkness falls. They are soon ambushed by hostile skeletons and zombies. Thinking quickly, Henry uses his knowledge to build a fortress to protect the group. Steve appears just in time to help fight off the monsters, but in the chaos, Garrett accidentally destroys the Earth Crystal, cutting off their way back home. As morning breaks and the remaining monsters burn in the sunlight, Steve informs the group that a replacement Earth Crystal can be found, but only within the mysterious and dangerous Woodland Mansion. Their journey, he warns, will not be easy. Steve leads the group deeper into the Overworld, revealing its wonders and teaching them how its unique environment works. He introduces them to a nearby village where they meet its friendly inhabitants and learn how effortlessly structures can be built using the world's resources. However, their journey is interrupted by the arrival of the piglins, commanded by the fearsome General Chungus. A battle ensues during which Steve, Garrett, and Henry are separated from Natalie and Dawn. While Steve's group narrowly escapes the piglins, Natalie and Dawn form a bond as they fend off enemies together. Along the way, they reunite with Dennis, who guides them back toward Steve. Meanwhile, General Chungus returns to Malgosia, only to be executed for his failure. In his place, she unleashes her monstrous creation, the Great Hog, to track down the heroes. Steve, Garrett, and Henry find refuge in a hidden cave. There, Garrett pressures Steve to reveal the location of Overworld's treasures. Reluctantly, Steve leads him to a diamond mine, but Henry is disappointed by Garrett's growing obsession with wealth. Their tension is cut short when the Great Hog locates them and launches an attack. The trio narrowly escapes on a minecart, using volatile creepers to trigger explosions. In the chaos, the Great Hog is destroyed by one of the blasts, allowing the group to flee. Back in the real world, a villager known as Nitwit accidentally crosses into reality and is struck by Marlene's car. Surprisingly unbothered, she invites him to dinner. Despite the language barrier, Marlene finds herself unexpectedly charmed by Nitwit. Steve, Garrett, and Henry reach the mysterious woodland mansion, where they devise a plan. The adults will create a diversion while Henry searches for the Earth Crystal. During his search, Henry encounters an Enderman, a sinister, teleporting creature that attempts to shake his confidence by projecting cruel illusions of Steve, Garrett, and Natalie speaking harshly to him. Elsewhere, Steve and Garrett find themselves in a bizarre skirmish against a miniature Frankenstein-like creature riding a chicken. After fending off the strange foe, they regroup and flee. Back inside, Henry courageously confronts the Enderman with his sword. Upon defeating it, he earns an Ender Pearl, an item that grants teleportation to any location it's thrown. Just as they attempt to leave the mansion, Malgosia and her piglin army ambush them. She reclaims the orb while her forces launch a full assault. In the chaos, Steve and Henry manage to board a hot air balloon, but Garrett chooses to stay behind and hold off the piglins. He is presumed dead after a massive explosion destroys the bridge, triggered by the piglins' TNT stockpile. Steve and Henry crash land, only to be rescued by Dawn, Natalie, and Dennis. The group takes a moment to grieve Garrett's heroic sacrifice before steeling themselves for the final battle. With the orb in her possession, Malgosia unleashes a wave of darkness over the overworld, allowing hostile creatures to roam freely and spread terror. The heroes rally an army of iron golems to launch a final assault against Malgosia and her piglin forces. As the battle intensifies, Henry scales the sorceress's tower in an effort to retrieve the orb. However, Malgosia strikes the tower with a blast, sending Henry plummeting, only to be rescued just in time by Garrett, who dramatically returns piloting his hot air balloon. Reunited, the team topples the tower and reclaims the orb, causing Malgosia's dark magic to dissolve and her monstrous minions to wither away. In a last feeble effort, Malgosia attempts 2 surprise attacks on Steve before ultimately meeting her end. With the orb recovered, the portal to the real world reopens. As the heroes prepare to return, Steve considers staying behind, believing he has no place in the real world. But Natalie reminds him that he may have something valuable to offer it. Inspired, Steve decides to join them. In the final narration, Steve reflects on the new lives the heroes are leading. With Steve's guidance, Garrett revives his store and creates a hit arcade game loved by the local kids. Dawn expands her petting zoo business using overworld animals like Dennis. Natalie launches a children's self-defense class based on the skills she gained in Overworld. Henry repairs his jetpack and earns newfound admiration at school. The story concludes with a celebration as the heroes gather for a joyful party at Garrett's shop.